South Africa have named their team. 12 of the starters also started in that World Cup final, Matt. 20 World Cup winners. Rozzy was saying it's a 6-2 split, but could go to 7-1. That's what he said if there's a few guys with a late fitness test. Don't know if that is true or there's mind games, or it may well be true. But so much experience there, Matt, and just winners. You know, you can pick out Khaleesi, Pollard, Detoy. You can name them all, Faf de Klerk, you name them. But who do you like in there, to say the obvious, and who's your real standout men?
Well, it's strange to go straight to the bench, but seeing Malcolm Marx back on the bench, like they've got two of them. I know Ireland have two great hookers, but wow, Marx coming off the bench, he'd be starting in any other team across the globe, probably with the exception of Ireland. Look, that is just a fantastic. Look at the tight five, the back row, the halves. Like, where's the weakness? There is no weakness. And you've got Pollard back there now. Andre Pollard at 10, who's playing his rugby at Leicester at the moment, but Loftus-Versfeld is his home ground. And I don't know if the listeners, obviously everyone from South Africa knows, at altitude, the ball travels further. And Loftus-Versfeld is 1,336 metres, I looked that up beforehand, above sea level. So you're at 1 kilometre and 300 metres straight above probably where we all are now at sea level. And the ball will travel 10, 15 metres further. I saw South African players many years ago on a captain's run taking kicks from the 10-metre line on their own side of halfway. So that's 60 metres to the goalpost. On the angle, it's probably more. And they were kicking the ball dead. So the ball's travelling 70 metres. And we just come back to that one where Jamie Osborne, if he's selected, that's going to be a problem for him in calculating his catches, because these guys are going to put the ball up. Your hang time, that's the time the ball's in the air, it'll go up by about a second. So instead of a 4.5 second hang time, you have a 5.5 second hang time, which means the South African chasers will get to him. So that is problematic. All those things are problematic. The other part that I like about this South, or I don't like, depending which way you want to put it, that is a great defending side. Who misses tackles in that team? There is no one missing tackles in that team. You then look down at the bench. There's a powerful bench, probably not as powerful as it was in the World Cup. They've got a few injuries out there, but still, that is a really tough side that is experienced as playing against Ireland. Obviously, Damien Delonde, Jesse Crew in the centres, two defenders, Arondes and Colby on the wings, lightning fast. Willie le Roux. Now let's just talk about that selection of Willie le Roux. Now I know Williams is injured. What did the Bulls do against Leinster? They didn't kick from 10 all the time. Quite often they would pass to 10, and the 10 would pass again back. So there's two passes, and that would be to le Roux. What did that do? It drew the Leinster defence up. So this is Leinster against the Bulls at Pretoria at Loftus-Versfeld. And then they kicked. And that second pass drew the defence even more forward to create more space in behind. And they kicked fantastically into that space, or just over the top behind the defensive line. Now expect to see that. Expect to see that second pass, which is not something the South Africans have done. They usually just go to Pollard and he kicks. Don't be surprised if we see a pass from Pollard to le Roux and then he kicks to that space, and they will leave Steph du Toit or Quagga Smith or one of the centres, usually Delonde, out wide, tall guys to compete in the air for that ball. That's how they scored their tries against France and one against Ireland too at the World Cup. The other part of that is that team is used to playing at altitude. And there is a skill, there is an enzyme that's created in your body when you're used to playing at altitude. Ireland aren't. Now, they've been there for 10 days, so that the acclimatisation used to take about 10 days in the sports science that I know. That sports science might be out of date. But altitude and the kicking game that this side will put in with strong defence, that is a formidable side, a very formidable side.
And we must mention there, Alan, Pollard didn't play in the last matches Ireland have won. South Africa have had their kicking troubles with Lebok and Williamson, haven't they, as well? So he's, like, we've seen him, semi-final kick goals every game. He pretty much kicks important goals, huge ones.
Yeah, he does, and he's very calm and a real leader in that Springbok team as well. So he's important for him. I think what way are they going to play, both teams? That's the intrigue here. I think, obviously with Tony Brown coming into the Springboks, does that change their approach? Matt mentioned about their traditional strengths, which is that power and that, intensity and physicality they have.
Did you see much different in that game that they beat Wales last week that Tony Brown may have added, and also Jerry Flannery? Did you see a wee bit more attack?
Difficult. Yeah, I saw some lines of running and variety in their shape as well. So when you have someone like Curtly Arendse and Cheslin Colby in your backline, you're not just box kicking for them and hoping that they go up and chase kicks all day. You want to try and get the ball in their hand. I think obviously for Ireland, they've got to kick well and not kick loosely to those players, because if you give them time and space. But South Africa are well able to, move the ball and get width in their game as well. But sometimes they don't need to. They play a couple of phases. And, with their box kicking, they believe that, you have a 50% chance of winning the ball back. And you win that back, they get into transition pretty quickly then. And that's where they can hurt teams as well. So I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't imagine that they were shown the full deck against Wales either, because there's a number of different players playing in this test match as well in this series. So, but I would imagine that Tony Brown will want to try and, bring in some of his attack structure into this Springbok team and make them better. And that's the point here with when you get to the top and you win trophies, you have to find ways of improving. And I would imagine that Rassie would want him to try and find a strategy to improve their attack as well. So it's well renowned about the power and the strength and their set piece ability. It's phenomenal. It's at a level that's really hard to repel. And if they're getting dominance at scrum time or maul time, they don't need to hit their wingers. They can kick into the corners, maul tries over. It doesn't matter. And I think with South Africa, it's a bit like going to France as well when you get that push, that dominance at scrum time or get a turnover at scrum. The crowd love that. And in South Africa, they love their teams imposing their physicality as well at scrum and line out and with that maul.